Hey folks, thanks for downloading, subscribing, and checking us out. This is the LLA Show, Live Life Progressively. Sincere Hogan, that's me. Mike Mahler on the other line. What's going on, brother?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. We've got one of my favorite guests back on the show today. We're going to talk to him in a little bit. Some really interesting stuff about to come up. Just wanted to do a quick shout out to a lot of our listeners that are using that coupon code LLA to get 10% off and get some great supplements and support the show. We've got Jim Swinglehurst out of Australia, Sean Ireland out of the UK, Jeremy Kotz, Sean Sterling, John Smith, Cameron Cadet, Scott Peterson, Russell Dunsing, Rod Harris, and Tavis Murray. These guys are all using that coupon code LLA to get 10% off. They don't want to be freeloaders. They don't want to take advantage of our generosity and get great content every week and then do nothing in return to pay it forward or pay it back. And so use that coupon code, folks, LLA, to get 10% off. And what's going on with you, man?
Hey, man, also want to give a shout out to Aneska Piska over in the UK. I hope I didn't butcher your name up. There's a lot of A's in there, man.
Great singer, great band.
So it's not like I lost a lot of money on Wheel of Fortune buying too many vowels when I said that name, man. And also Pat Watterson, also using that coupon code LLA. I believe we got Pat coming on the show
next month. On the show next month. Yeah, really interesting guy.
It's going to be awesome, man, to have him on as well.
Yeah, Navy SEAL turned fitness instructor. He has I forget exactly where he's based, but he has a gym that he opened up recently. Really interesting guy. I'm looking forward to talking to him when he's on the show next month.
Definitely awesome, man. And then also to our Patreon subscribers, man, the Patreon folks who are supporting us on a monthly basis, they're like, hey, man, yeah, we're buying you guys products and everything. And we also want to take it a step further and support you guys on a monthly basis with Patreon over at patreon.com/LLA podcast. I want to give a shout out to Mark Hannington. Mark said, first of all, becoming a monthly subscriber on Patreon is another good investment. Meaning, I believe he picked up a little hint from the Rohit Kalra episode.
Yeah, right.
So he's investing in himself by investing in our show. And we appreciate that, Mark. Really appreciate that. Also to Martin Pelchat and Elvis Torres as well. All new Patreon subscribers. Support us on a monthly basis. We're up to 52 right now. Here's my thing, man. I'm going to go out there with a goal. For 2016, man, what number should we shoot for with those Patreon subscribers?
I think 150 is.
I was about to say 150 because I said 100 is low balling right now.
Exactly.
That's not very ambitious.
That's too easy.
That's unlike us to go that low. So, honestly, yeah. So we're looking to get 150. In fact, I'll raise the stakes even higher. Let's get 150 by June. Let's do it by our 3rd anniversary.
And if we don't, I'm going to take on that sponsor that has the underwear of the month deal. Okay. And you're going to have to listen to us talk about that every episode.
Yeah, and the razors and all that. Anything we're just going to take on all sponsors that have something of the month. The panty of the month, the sex toy of the month, all that. You're going to hear all that madness unless you go over patreon.com/LLA podcast and become a monthly supporter of the show. Otherwise, you're going to get new panties every month. So you can't blame anyone but
break out the red panties.
And you can send those red panties to those who can listen to the show for free with their head up their ass. So therefore, it gives them something nice and warm. Keep them nice.
What's funny is I've been reading Suzanne Summers' new book, which talks about dealing with toxicity in the environment and our food and how to address that.
Right.
And one of the things that some progressive doctors do to really clean out the liver are coffee enemas of all things.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
Trust me. I've had people send me links to our listeners have actually sent me like, Sincere, have you heard of this? I'm like, yeah. Do not ask me what I think of it, and do not ask me should you do it. Because
here's what I think. I think a lot of our listeners should.
Look, coffee's supposed to go the other direction, not going in. It should be going out.
Well, the thing is that it's actually very effective for liver toxicity. Yeah. But on a separate note, it's very effective for our listeners who have their head up their asses too. Because now that it's time to take that coffee one step further and clean out the liver, and all of a sudden you may have this level of clarity where you're like, man, I didn't realize I wasn't supporting the show until I started doing those coffee enemas. So something to think about.
Or maybe you just might wake up and like, wait a minute. Is my head up my ass? How did I get here? And then use the coffee to lubricate your head out of your ass, okay?
Just make sure you don't use hot coffee, all right? Use some organic coffee. Make sure it's room temperature cold. Yeah, we'll get that doctor. His name is Dr. Gonzalez. I'm going to look at. He's a really interesting guy, actually. Yeah, I want to get him on to talk about that further. He's got a lot of other interesting ideas on alternative cancer therapies and things of that nature. So that'll be interesting.
Perfect, man.
Cool, man. Without further ado, we've got our good friend who's been on the show many times, Anthony Roberts. And today we're going to talk about SARMs, otherwise known as selective androgen receptor modulators. Both of us have played around with some of the ones out in the market, so we're going to provide our insights and then just get into what this category of performance enhancers are and if something maybe you want to consider. Anthony, how you doing today, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing good. We've had an interesting discussion before we started recording, as usual, and talking about some of the strange characters in our fitness business. We won't get into that today. But also, I'm curious, we have some UFCs coming up this week. We actually have 3 in a row, but the one I'm most curious about is Saturday, where we have Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo, and then we have Luke Rockhold versus Chris Weidman. As a fellow New Jersey guy, actually, he's based in New York, right?
Yeah.
Chris Weidman. Okay, well, you're close enough. You're
New
close
Jersey,
enough.
New York. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the same to us out
by a
west.
little bit of water. You can still see it from your house.
I'm curious. I mean, actually, I'm curious what you think. No, I'm curious what you think of those fights, Anthony. Who do you think is going to win? And I'm also curious, sincere, of what you think is going to happen because I'm planning on placing some bets.
I honestly think so. Let me get into the geography. I think we say Weidman and Connor are my prediction, but like geographically, I'm like 8 miles from like down like Midtown Manhattan. So that whole area, like we all sort of, it's all sort of the same thing. Whereas if you get a little bit like further south, well, I mean, not a little bit, but like more towards the center of the state, like those people aren't Yankees fans, like they're Eagles fans and they're, like they're Phillies fans, like they're completely not like northern New Jersey, like this whole area, we're Yankees, Giants. So sort of the New York, New Jersey kind of same thing in that regard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I like Conor. I think he's gonna probably be dominant for a while.
Yeah.
Or I just think
what is it about his fighting style? What is it about his fighting style? Do you think that it makes him the favorite against Jose?
I think they match up. To be honest, I think they match up well. Like I don't think it's, but there's something about. I guess I know more about his preparation, so I sort of see his, he's methodical and, I'm sort of more familiar with him. So I'm thinking, all right, he's going to, he's sort of got the advantage, but, and like I said, I think he's going to be doing it for a while. I think it's going to be one of those situations where we see someone on top for quite a bit of time as opposed to,
Well, Dana White definitely hopes you're correct.
Exactly.
Well, he's got personality,
Well, that's the thing. One is clearly more marketable than the other.
He sells tickets, man.
He's he makes you believe in his confidence. There's no doubt about that. But it's hard when you just look at this strictly on paper, right? Taking all the personalities out of the equation. It's hard to bet against Jose, in my opinion, because he's number one ranked fighter, pound for pound. And also, he hasn't lost in 10 years. And when he did lose, he was really sick before that fight, and he was really out of it. And that was 10 years ago. That was a long time ago.
But then you throw in this monkey wrench, though. But the fact that he's been out for all this time, and he's coming back got that injury, which is a little different for him. Where he didn't get to have his one fight a year like he normally does. And Conor's been fighting. So Conor's been pretty much, there's no ring rust right there. So he's been very active.
Also, fighting for 10 years, think about all the wear and tear that you have as a result of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And we were talking about this before we started recording. Conor's kind of one of those guys who's more of a mixed martial artist. No real specialty, compared to Jose. Jose, stand up and jiu-jitsu is pretty much his thing. But Conor is kind of like, you can't say, okay, this guy's a boxer or this guy's a Muay Thai specialist. He's another one of those guys that's a little bit more well-rounded. So, there's going to be people hearing this right now like, Aldo, just because he's been the champ, and that's why they go with that. They feel secure saying that. But, hey, people said the same thing about Ronda.
Well, Conor's the betting favorite actually right now. Jose's an underdog.
Yeah, probably for those same reasons that I just stated. So they're probably thinking like, well, he's been out of action for a while, and they may have bought into the hype. So I honestly, I'm going with Conor on this one.
Yeah, I'm on the fence right now.
You know what, man? I mean, you get on. It's one of those. People are going to be the favorite based on like a lot of that stuff you said, like personality and people looking at, oh, this guy's been out of it. Like,
yeah.
I don't think we're talking about more than a 6 to 5 though. And if you want to be realistic,
it's very close actually in the
it
betting. It's not like Conor's a 2-1 favorite or anything. It's just a slight margin.
Yeah. I'm wondering how they're going to do Holmes and Ronda.
Oh,
right?
the rematch.
Going to be the favorite.
Holmes will be the favorite.
Holmes will be the favorite.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Just because of how dominant she was.
Absolutely.
It would be very stupid for them to sit there and say like, oh, okay, Ronda's going to be like a 4-1 favorite. Like, no, please put the crack pipe down, okay, and find a new drug. So, yeah.
Holmes may be a 4-1 favorite.
Exactly.
Given how dominant she was last time. Yeah, there would have
a
to be.
A lot of people are still going to bet on. A lot of people are going to think it's going to be.
Well, those are the same people that bet on Anderson the second time around with Weidman. We were talking about because they were so used to him dominating, and then it's like, okay, no, this time around he's not going to beat himself. Okay, so yeah, man.
And what's funny, even in that rematch, Sincere, is that Anderson lost the first round.
Yeah,
it's not like he was doing well. It's not like it was competitive before the leg break. Weidman was winning before the leg break.
During the break, you can actually see like Anderson's face, like, okay, what the fuck do I need to do? It's like, okay, I wasn't expecting that.
That was way too soon for Anderson to do a rematch. Too.
Yeah, exactly.
Way too soon.
Yeah.
After you get your clock cleaned like that, you need some time off and reassess things and so forth. You don't just go fight again 7 months later. So with Ronda, I think she needs a long time before she does a rematch. But they're not going to. I don't know if they're going to give her a long time. They're probably going to want her to do it next year.
Like it's going to be. She said it's going to be half a year till she could like.
Even that's not
an apple.
Yeah,
that's how bad her
jaw
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even if she does it this time next year, that's still not enough time, in my opinion, to close those gaps.
Not for the things she needs to work on.
I mean,
man.
they have to give her at least, at least those 6 months. That's tough. That's tough, man. Like to take 6 months. And remember too, like this is something that if you've ever been the best at something, right?
Yeah.
Like the best, and you were the best for 5 years, and now you have to spend 6 months as not the best, as number 2. That's devastating, man.
Which is why 6 months is not long enough for the fact when you think like that. So you need to go find a good sports psychologist, somebody to really help you with your programming and get you mentally recalibrated from that, because all you're gonna be thinking about is revenge. I got to get my belt back, which can be a detriment. So it's like you probably need to take another year or year and a half off to get your mind right, before you come back in there, because you're gonna make a lot of mistakes on top of the ones you made on the last time you fought. Because
otherwise, it's like someone gambling and they just lost a bunch, and they're like,
Exactly.
"Okay, I'm not leaving until I make it back." You end up losing even more.
That never works.
It's like I'm not leaving.
Tough, man. But
from a
tough.
personal
Imagine
experience.
just think about that, being the best for so long, and now you have to show the maturity and the patience to live with not being the best. You know what I mean? Like without rushing into that fight.
Right.
That's a tough thing. Like the average person doesn't.
Well, that's where you need a really good.
That's why you need a good
camp around you.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you got to have the right people around you who are not just gonna blow smoke up your ass and just like, look, just really help you with that mental training, or make sure you're connected with someone that can help you with that mental training, because a good coach would know that.
I mean. Like you're looking like
not right now.
Honestly, dude. Honestly, not that I'm in that camp or anything like that, but just what I've observed, and just from experience being in that world, man. I honestly think that she really needs to change camps. I know about loyalty and all this, but at the same time, if you are truly a good coach and you really have the interest of your student at the best interest at heart, you will say, you know what, look, I'm gonna hook you up with this person. You know what? Maybe you need to hook up with Freddie Roach and take care of this. Maybe you need to go work on, go down to Winklejohn's camp and do this, and not worry so much about you losing money by losing that client. You need to look at it more like, okay, I really want this person to be the best who they can be, and there's a lot of holes that I can't fulfill here. Okay, and I know there's guys much better than me, much smarter than me, who can help you with this. Send them to, send him up there with Frankie and all those guys so she can learn some freaking head movement and some foot movement to go with that, man, and be around the Gracies or whatever, and just, and I'm not talking about the ones out on the West Coast, so yeah, man.
No, I mean, because that's what I was thinking. Like, you have her mom saying, like, her coach is, the biggest scumbag ever, and you have, like, sort of all these somewhat dubious people. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't good people in your camp, but there's some people that maybe aren't the best to be around someone who's number one. And you saw that greatest example of a dude who was clearly number one, was clearly dominant, but had a bad camp and a bad entourage. Was Mike Tyson, right?
No doubt.
After Customato died,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Well, again, the wrong people.
You know what I'm
around
saying?
him.
After Cuss.
Because Gus was more concerned about him being the best. He was not worried about, I'm going to be, this famous guy who coached Mike Tyson. He's like, no, I want this kid to be great. Whereas everyone after that saw him as a product and they can make money off him. He was a piece of meat, man, after that, man. He got around Don King and all of them, man, and Bob Arum, all these vultures. They're just like, he's right for the picking because now his gatekeeper's dead. So now we all have access to him, so they're all fighting over him, man. So, yeah, that's the thing about it, man. So I really just feel like, she really needs – I feel like she needs to take the next 6 to 8 months just being alone. Get away from her fucking mother, get her out of your ear. Get away from the three horsewomen. Well, first of all, that's also a telltale sign right there. Like, all of them lose, and lose, which shows me that obviously in that camp it seems like Ronda's the focus and everybody else is not really getting their due. Because all those girls, some of them were questionable as far as talent, man, but come on. When you got the Queen of Spades, like this girl is like a legend, man. So it's like, why is she coming over to the UFC and just getting her ass handed to her all the freaking time? It shouldn't be that way, man. It's like,
no, you should have, like, I know out there in Vegas, right? You have, in terms of BJJ, you have Drysdale's camp, and they're killers. Right. They're killers. They go out there, everything. They're crushing people. In every BJJ tournament, everything. They're crushing people, right?
Oh, yeah.
They don't have just the one guy. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, man.
He's a great coach, Drysdale.
It's a good camp.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. So, I just think, she needs to put that time and money and go into the best in all those categories where she has big holes. Look, you don't need any help with judo at all. Okay? But the thing is, you're going to need some help to help your judo. So you're going to need more than judo. And you're going to need a real boxer. Okay, you're going to need somebody who's like been with nothing but boxers, and that's still what they do. To teach you what they do. Like, hey, man, Pacquiao even bowed down and went to Freddie Roach, man. So what makes you think that who you have is better than what Pacquiao would pick? Hell, even Mayweather put, raised the white flag and said, hey, I'll help you. Despite all the trash talk that's going back and forth. Hell, why not? Take him up on his offer. That's a little redemption for him as well. So so why not take him up on that offer? Shit, he's proven that he's the best at what he does, even if it is moving around the ring and avoid getting hit. He really reduced it to a point game, like sort of a game of who can play this sort of intense kind of tag,
right?
And get more points. Like he kind of reduced it to that, which I don't think anyone's really ever done like that.
Well, he did it so well. He was so good at defensive boxing and just avoiding getting hit.
Well, that gave him longevity.
Scoring those points.
And that gives him longevity in the game as well, instead of just being punch drunk, and just going through all these wars or whatever. He was a smart businessman on that. Yeah, a lot of those fights weren't exciting, but hey. But yeah, man. So
at the end of the day, it's like, who cares if they're exciting or not? It's his longevity. Like when you hear him talk in interviews now, he's not slurring. He doesn't have that delay reaction.
Yeah, here's the thing.
To answer a question.
You can say what you want, like, okay, he can't read, but at least he can talk. Okay, I know a lot of boxers that can read, but I can't understand a damn thing. They could read me that story, and I wouldn't even know if they could read or not. I'm like, there's some punctuation.
You know what though? I don't know. I think I'd rather be Mickey Ward. To be really honest, nobody's writing songs about Mayweather.
Well, I'm not sure if he cares though when he's in his mansion and he's relaxing. Who cares what people think and how they remember you?
Now, for sure, I think Mayweather would rather be Mayweather, but for me, I think I'd rather be Mickey Ward.
You're not a guy who chases fame, so that's not too surprising, to me. I mean, actually, fame or luxuries, I should say, as well. Right, you're not a materialistic guy.
No.
But yeah, man. So yeah, getting the Ronda, I said she should hook up with like Renzo Gracie, man, and get her jiu-jitsu game down. And like I said, in that same camp, like I said, she can get around like Frankie Edgar and learn some head movement, learn how to be spastic. Okay. One thing about it, you're not gonna really punch Frankie. You're not gonna punch Frankie in the head. You can't find his head. He's constantly moving. He's a riddling kid, man. You're not gonna catch that dude. Something to be said about that.
They used to both be sponsored by Gaspari. You think they knew each other?
Yeah.
They share a sponsor. You'd think at some point they must have crossed paths, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say, though. Why would they cross paths, right? Unless they're at some company meeting or something like that. Otherwise, it's just here's the check and wear our shirt, and that's it.
Exactly.
And
usually that's their manager coming in. Hey, we got this new sponsorship. Here's the shirt. Make sure you put it on at the end of the fight.
Yeah, but remember, this was 5-10 years ago. So this was 5 years ago. So it wasn't wear the shirt. It was show up to this GNC and sign autographs.
Okay.
This is a while ago.
Well, one's on the East Coast, one's
now,
on the West Coast, though, right? So they probably had Ronda at West Coast GNCs, and then Frankie at East Coast ones.
Yeah.
It wouldn't really make sense to fly him out to L.A., right, when he can cover the whole Eastern Seaboard.
So yeah. Man.
No, this was long enough ago. Now I'm sure you don't get either of them at some supplement store, but back in the day.
Yeah, well, I always question whether the supplements actually work when I see them blowing a lot of money on sponsorships, the money hose, right? When you have to pay people to say your products are great, what does that say about your products?
You got to pay to say.
You know what? I kind of we were talking about Holly Holmes, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
At a certain stage, and this I guess this kind of goes for MMA, but I guess a lot of stuff, like, you need that sponsor just to train. Like, it helps the athlete.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
But you just need, like I was saying before, there are guys sleeping on mats. There are guys who want to go train at some, awesome school, or they're living in a fight house, with six other guys, that kind of rotate in and out.
But trust me, fighting is something you definitely do because you love, man.
Yeah, it's not a luxurious lifestyle.
Yeah, because it takes a minute to get to that stage, man. You got to put in that work, and otherwise, that's where you're gonna end up. You only get some of these guys only getting, and these ladies are getting like maybe $5,000, $10,000, 15 grand at for a fight, but then by the time they have to pay everybody, pay for the membership, pay the coaches, pay for the flight, pay for all the expenses, blah blah, they're down to like maybe probably about $1,000, $500 or whatever.
No, and pay taxes on that.
Then the Uncle Sam wants his piece of that, so if they're smart, they're gonna make sure they pay him. So what ends up happening is I feel like a lot of fighters can learn a lot from BJ Penn as far as, really turning yourself into a brand, really learn how to market yourself and not have to just solely depend on those checks that you get after the fight. Basically, why live paycheck to paycheck in a fight, especially when you may not only get a paycheck but once a year. That sucks. So basically,
and he's got an awesome website, bjpenn.com.
Yes,
it's one of the best MMA sites.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So think about that. When these fighters, if you get $20,000 for that one fight, and you've only fought once that year, when you actually break that down, you're making making less than the new kid working fries at McDonald's. Okay.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to get punched in the face. Well, maybe or maybe not. I don't know. Some of these McDonald's are in bad neighborhoods, but I'm just saying.
Maybe worse.
So think about it. There are Walmart workers making better money than some of these fighters, and especially fighters you would think would be making better money, because you see them a little bit more often. But so basically it might be the equivalent of them making minimum wage when you actually break down what they make in a year.
Yeah,
it's sad when you think about that. Like, wow, they're putting their bodies on the line like that, and they're making probably, like, if you broke it down, might be $10 an hour. So it's crazy, man.
Yeah, and that sponsorship money, it comes in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I understand why fighters and athletes take and want sponsorships. That's very clear. Yeah. What I don't understand is why supplement companies feel that's a good use of their money, because you're blowing a lot of money that could be put into developing better products and using more guerrilla marketing type techniques.
So when everybody's wearing a sponsorship T-shirt at the end of the fight, I'm watching the UFC. I watched 4 hours of it, right? So I've watched 12 fights. And in that 12, well, this is pre-Reebok sponsorship now. This is when actually everybody had their own sponsors, before everybody started wearing the Garanimals. So you sit there, you watch 12 fights, and I've seen 24 different T-shirts, in that 4 hour period. Do you really think I'm actually going to remember any of those? Like, oh, let me go to their website. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have like a pen and pad writing stuff down.
So basically,
you know what? It's funny you guys bring that up, right? Because, like, I don't know what the nexus is between, like, someone, like, I remember BSN used to sponsor the UFC. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, Forrest Griffin.
And there was that other company, Zion.
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell made $1 million a year off Zions.
Yeah, like, there's a dude, there was a dude over at Gaspari Nutrition named Dan Pierce, and he does BJJ at one of the Gracie schools here in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So I know, like, that was his thing. Like, he brought in Brian Stan, who I think is, like, a great representative for a brand in general, because of who he is. Like, not really, I mean, very little to do with his MMA career. More like this guy's
his personal background. So he's a war hero for the most part. And what he's doing for wounded vets coming back home. So. And again, very well spoken. And he's the guy that can walk into. Oh, yeah. He can walk into an octagon, or he can walk into a corporate boardroom, and no one would feel intimidated.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's very presentable. Yeah, he's freaking 6'2" or whatever else, 200-something pounds. But the little bald CEO can actually talk to this guy and not feel small. Feel like he's his equal.
So you had.
But here's the thing about supplements. The thing about supplements is this, though. If the supplement users that are legit supplement users, they only care about one thing: if it works. Nobody's going to keep buying something, no matter who's endorsing it, if it doesn't work. And if you take something for 3 months and you didn't get any benefit out of it, why would you buy another 3 month supply? It's it. It's over. You're going to move on to something else. So I don't understand.
I think you get a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
3 months is being very generous. I'm giving people a lot of leeway. If you don't notice something by the time that first bottle is over, forget it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I say to people. Like, you get a month. Like, you get, this guy has a GNC Gold card or whatever, or he orders supplements from bodybuilding.com once a month, or whatever his deal is. You get a month.
Well, that's why, to me, the most important thing is that the product actually works. The only reason I'm competitive as a small business, sells 4 products completely direct to the customer, no distributors, no advertising budget, nothing, is because I actually have stuff that works. So I rely on repeat business and word of mouth. Otherwise, I'd be dead in the water.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. You need to.
And there's something can be said about that too.
Yeah,
I mean, for people who not even in the supplement business, our listeners out there who are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs, when you sit there and you focus on those two things that Mike just brought up, man, I think you'll go a long way. When you actually focus on creating a product that people are going to believe in, and they're going to become repeat customers and go out and tell people about it. When you focus on that instead of all these gimmicks and bullshit and or thinking that you're going to get paid by promoting somebody else's product and that's going to make you a millionaire by, buying in their company, saying that's my company, blah, blah. It's not your damn company. It's not your damn company. Okay. So just shut that up. But when you sit there and you focus on the customers you do have, and, again, that 80-20 rule right there, when you put like 80% of all your energy into those 20% of those customers who keep coming back, man, come on, man. The thing about it, they're going to go out, they're going to do the work for you. You don't have to worry about flyers and direct marketing and all this other stuff and sending postcards out and all this other madness or just spamming people to death. Those people are going to be your cheerleaders. They're going to go out and get you customers, man, without you even asking. They're going to say, somebody's going to be like, hey, man, what is that? Oh, man. Somebody, this testosterone was okay. It's really helping me out, man. I feel so much better. Look at my numbers. I was feeling like a straight up woman for a while there, man. I was crying. I was crying on command. You're just like, hey, drop a tear. It's like that commercial with Danny Glover. Now he's like, when he's acting, he's like, I can cry just like this. There's a lot of guys who actually do that, and they're not actors. Okay, so then he's like, now guys feeling all good. He's like, yeah, now I'm banging my wife every 5 minutes, and I'm like a damn bunny rabbit now. Some guys can be like, oh, sign me up. Where do I get that? Okay, so there's the difference right there. And that's a testimony that you can't bullshit and create on your website, and say that when this is a testimonial from John S. And all these other fake testimonials.
Right.
That's a real deal testimonial because
you can tell when a testimonial is real because it's usually pretty detailed.
It's detailed.
They're breaking down all the benefits they had rather than something generic such as, this stuff is great. I feel incredible on this, and that's it. It's like, okay,
it's
well,
the only product I
use.
use.
Some more details.
I'm like, and why? Well, because it's great. What's so great about it? Everything. I just can't.
Well, it's like online consulting, right? If someone does a 3-month program with you, they're not going to want to re-sign if they didn't actually get good results.
Exactly,
they lost weight, they put on muscle, they got stronger. The numbers. If someone's coming to you for a program to get stronger, whether you got stronger or not is pretty obvious by the end of the program. You look at your beginning numbers, you look at your end numbers.
Look, man,
if you're not happy with the results, then forget it.
Exactly. Anytime I've done any kind of like online coaching, man, with any of my clients, whatever, I always tell myself, hey, 3-month minimum. Okay. So, I tell them why. Like, first of all, that first month is going to be a transition period. It's trying to get you into your groove. Second month, you're going to start seeing some things happening, whatever. Third month is when things really start kicking in. Then, hey, it's up to you where you want to go from there. No one's ever stopped after 3 months. It's been to the point where sometimes I'm like, okay, man, it's been 9 months now. You're good.
Exactly.
At a year, I'm really done. Like, all right, we're good here, buddy. Unless they have a different goal.
No, you're doing a good job when you have to get rid of people. You're doing a good
exactly.
job.
So if the goal doesn't change, if they're not trying to change, well, now I want to do this because I'm feeling so good. I actually want to compete in this, do this. Okay, now that's like a reboot. That's like a new 3 months right there. But for that first goal and it hasn't changed, I'm like, all right, man, we're good here. So we can move on.
I don't like dragging people along.
No,
I don't want people to become reliant on me.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna get bored.
Well, they should know how to design a program now because that's what I do. I explain very clearly.
Yeah.
I don't do it anymore, so I should say in the past tense. I used to explain very clearly why I designed it this way. And then they figure out, okay, I cover the 5 pillars. I get an upper body press, upper body pull, lower body press, lower body pull, some torso work, some conditioning. They start getting the idea of how to design stuff themselves. And then by the time they've completed 3, 6 months, 9 months, whatever the number may be, they have a pretty clear idea of how to design programs for themselves. And that's what I like. You're empowering people.
Exactly, man. Because again, and then
it's crazy, man. When people have some client for like 5 years,
5 years on the same online program, and that person looks the same. I'm like, that's no different.
Now you're a glorified counselor for that person.
Well, I'm going to say now that you don't look any different than the person that goes to their personal trainer or whatever, or they go to 24-hour fitness and they've had that membership for 10 years, but every Monday you see them on bench press and they look the exact same way they did 10 years ago and last year and 5 years ago. I'm like, dude, it's not working. You need to change this up, okay? And quit giving your money away. Do something better with your money.
Well, those people usually fall into a category of people that do not have clearly defined goals. Right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a clearly defined goal, you have no target whatsoever. Like this year, for example, at the beginning of the year, I go, I'm going to deadlift 550 no matter what this year. That's it. I'm going to hit it. And I hit it last week, 555. Right. So because it was on my mind every week, you know where you're going. You have a target. Every workout, you know where it's leading to. Now, if I just said, hey, I want to get stronger on the deadlift, that's not
specific enough, man.
You could put a pound on the bar.
I was about to say the same thing. Like, yep, nailed it. All right, goal accomplished.
You could tape 2 pennies to each side. You got to have a number that gets you excited too. Like you actually care about this number. It's not something where I'm like, hey, Sincere, here's your goal for the year. It's like, no, you have to that should be your goal.
Exactly.
But it makes
if you start training with someone, like if you're paying someone, and you're like, I don't know, whatever, 30 years old, and you're with them for 5 years, and the only number that changed is that you're 35. That's a problem. Did you make any progress? Yeah, 35.
Yeah, I'm alive. I'm still here.
I'm still working out.
I started at 30 and I gained 5 years.
No, but I can't tell you how empowering it is to have a goal and hit that goal. It's exciting. It's what has kept me working out for so long is that I like achieving goals.
Exactly.
Whatever it is, whether it's, okay, I can do 10 100-yard sprints, I want to work up to 15, and you hit 15, you're like, bam, I said I was going to do it, and I did it. It's very empowering when you say you're going to do something and you actually do it, because so many people just talk and they never do anything, right?
Just talk out their ass, man. It's like,
we have New Year's resolutions around the corner now, and that's a perfect example of people saying, I'm going to do this year, I'm going to do that this year. They don't do anything, and every time you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, it just takes your energy down a notch.
And it makes you like a glorified asshole. Let's just go ahead and be honest. It's like, okay. And then every time you open your mouth from that point on, everybody is like, oh, here you go. It's like you lose your credibility,
kind of like
man.
when you run into this, like you see someone and then they're like, oh yeah, I'm working on this, and then you, for whatever reason, you don't see them for a long time. Like maybe 3 years later, you run into them.
Hey, man,
you're like, oh man, whatever happened to that goal you're working on? Oh, that.
Man.
No.
Whatever, man. That didn't work out, man.
Whatever happened to that book you were writing? Did you finish it? They're like, nah, I'm still working on it.
Whatever happened to the hot chick you said you were going to get? Like, nah, she got fat.
That's the big one, man. The book.
The book.
That's like
I've seen
so many people writing a book.
But you know what though? That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a very tough one to finish, man. Because I was working on my Live Life Aggressively book for a long time, and then finally I came up with the idea of I can use it as a fundraiser to help soldiers that are dealing with PTSD and abandoned animals. And that gave me the motivation to just crank out the end and finally get it out there. But otherwise, I was just spinning my wheels too.
See, it goes back to what you were saying right there. You had something more specific at that point. Instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to write a book, because, hey, that's a good way to market myself, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't as compelling enough. Whereas, like, when you had a cause for that book, like, you know what, this book is no longer about me. Okay, there are other organizations depending on me to get this book out.
Right.
So then it's kind of like, well, shit, now that I've said it, I got to do it now. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was a total paradigm shift. I couldn't stop writing. I'd wake up at 6 a.m, and I'm not a morning guy because I'm like, oh, I'm going to write about that. And then you're just writing the whole day. So it was cool. It was a cool feeling. But once you finish it, you're like, I don't want to ever do that again. Because it's tough, man.
Hey, man, let me tell you, just putting together a chapter in that in the wellness code, I'm just like, okay, and then all the editing and then going the back and forth and all this other stuff. You're like, oh my God, who actually makes a career of this? Like, God, Stephen King, how the hell do you do this?
Imagine doing 10 more of those chapters.
That's what I'm saying. Stephen King, like, Tom Clancy, like, bless you dudes, man. And you've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years.
I can't read a Stephen King book in the time it takes him to write one.
He just shits them out like, dude. But again, he has it set up to where he can actually focus on doing that, which is kind of why he kind of seems like he does when you ever see him in interviews. It's like, yeah, you don't get out very often, Stephen.
Even Robert
He's
Greene
awesome,
said,
man. He's great.
No, he's a great writer. Robert Greene always says that you're author of Mastery and Power, 48 Laws of Power, but 50th Law. He basically said that every time he sits down to write a book, it's extremely stressful for him. Like his anxiety just goes through the roof. And he was a guy who's written several books.
Well, it's probably
because he knows what the process is.
Exactly. It's the process. And then you probably think about that last book, because that's just like a musician. It's just like you're as good as your last hit. So you're probably looking at that last book.
Yeah.
Even if that book wasn't a hit, now you have even more pressure to make it better than that last one that flopped. Or if it was a big one, it's like, well, shit, I got to match that success. So that's why I laugh when I see all these musicians, these artists. Well, I can't even call them artists now. These groups and these people in the music industry now who keep dropping albums every 6 months. I'm like, that there's no quality in that.
Right.
I'm like, look, man, just follow Adele. Adele's giving you numbers as she's making albums. She's like, okay, there's 19. When she was 19, there's 21, and then there's 25. It's like, do you see what I'm doing here? I'm taking my time. And the reason why she comes out and she kills and slays everyone every time she drops an album is because she's got her process down, and she also takes that time off. Kind of like what we were talking about what Rhonda probably needs to do. Just, when you take that time off, you can come back and destroy, man. Like she just dropped some freaking song
in the good old
like,
days,
killed everybody. Everybody used to.
Her record is selling really well.
Yeah.
In the good old days, though, a band would take 2-3 years in between each album. They would put out an album, go tour, and then that's it. You don't hear from them for a while.
Like Michael Jackson, he dropped an album every time you got a new president. When it's time to vote, he dropped a new album back then. Every 4 years. A lot of those guys are that way. Van Halen, Bruce Springsteen, all of them. You would get an album from. That's why it seemed like in certain years you had a ton of all these badass albums like during the 80s, because everybody pretty much took a time off right at the same time. So it's just like 84. You look at all the big albums that came out during that time. Then you got like 88, and then pretty much after 92. Pretty much after grunge and all that, after 92, everything just kind of went downhill because now.
But that, it's funny you mentioned those years, right? Because you covered, right? Like if you look at and I think they were the biggest band in the world at the time, Guns N' Roses, right? They came out with Appetite.
88.
Then they made that last mistake. They came out with 2 albums on the same day, right?
Yes.
And that was it.
2 long albums, too. Those weren't like 5-song albums. They were long albums.
Look, man, you're not in the game long enough to do some type of concept like that. Okay, you get
Well, the
you
real
gotta-
problem is it was nowhere near as good as Appetite for Destruction
Exactly.
either. That was a big disappointment to everyone who bought it.
Every
Like,
track on Appetite was like,
yeah,
Man.
Appetite's a masterpiece,
I mean, it was
start
great.
to finish, man. Masterpiece,
Exactly.
masterpiece. If it
I
wasn't
always
for that
said-
album, we wouldn't even be talking about them right
Exactly. I always said the real test of a truly great album, since I was young, man, it's like when I can put it on from track 1 and it finishes at track 12 and I didn't hit stop, fast forward, or anything at all.
Right.
And then I turned the tape back, and I said the tape, yes I did. And I turned the tape back over and started again. Okay, or I take the needle and I bring it right back to the very beginning of the album right there. So that's a true.
See, that's something big. If you train, like, if you grew up training, like, in your garage or in your basement or something, that one tape that you could bring in,
that's your training tape, man.
that was important.
When the album is over, your workout is over. Okay, so you got about 55 minutes, man, to get this done.
Right.
Unless it's like, unless it's a group where it's got some badass musicians, like, somebody like the Eagles or Rush or somebody like that, or, or Zeppelin or somebody, like, okay, maybe about an hour and a half, because those long ass guitar solos. It's just like, damn, man, come on, I'm dying over here. Come on, wrap this up. So yeah, man, that's the true testament. Whereas now an album pretty much lasts like 36 minutes. I'm like, really? Most songs are like 2 minutes and 3 minutes long. I'm like, come on,
you're
man.
lucky if you can find 2 or 3 songs that are worth even downloading off an album, no matter who the artist is.
Yeah, but you bring Led Zeppelin 4 into the garage to work out. You better be wrapping it up by Stairway. Wrap that up.
Yeah, you throw in Dark Side of the Moon, like, all right, it's gonna be a trip, man. So I hope this is like your active recovery day.
Yeah.
I know there's some people listening, like, what are these groups they're talking about? Like,
no, but I mean,
that's what I was thinking.
whatever you're trying to do, though.
We're like, what?
No, but whatever you're trying to do that's high quality is going to take time. We see that in our industry as well, the fitness industry, where one coach puts out a book and it breaks. And then all of a sudden there's a new book every year, which are nowhere near as good as the first book, because now the pressure is on, hey, you got to pump out more. It's like, well, that first book took probably 5 to 10 years of research and working with people to write. And now all of a sudden you have to write another one in 6 months to a year. Of course the quality is going to drop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're going to always be known as that guy.
That's why I haven't written a new book in like 5 years. No, you know what I was actually thinking? I have to be honest. I was actually thinking about taking Beyond Steroids and doing a whole, like, doubling the length and just doing chapters on SARMS, because those weren't out back then.
Yeah, that's right. You could definitely do an update, and that's a good segue.
So that's how you do it right there. Yeah.
No, that's true. I thought about doing that with one of my old training books, just adding in a bunch of new material. But then I'm thinking, nah, I'm going to leave that in the rear view, man. I'm focused on other stuff right now. I don't need to go back to that. Just buy it. It's all right. You want any new stuff? Just read the articles.
Read the articles and listen to the show.
No, but you could do a whole book on SARMS. No, you could do a whole book on. Let's talk about SARMS, because that's one of the things I wanted to get into on this episode.
And we're saying SARMS, people, not SARS. So we're not talking about a disease, coming from.
Yeah, that's SARMS. So again, they're selective androgen receptor modulators, and it's a relatively new classification of performance enhancers, and they're pretty powerful stuff. I mean, the 3 that I've played around with, Ostarine, and I know you've played around with that one, Anthony, as well as Nutribol, which is a secretagogue for growth hormone. It increases ghrelin, which is a hunger hormone, which is a secretagogue for growth hormone. And then there's another one called Cardarine, which is not really a SARM, but it's often looped into that. And SARM is incredible. Cardarine is incredible stuff for improving a lot of health markers as well. HDL, cholesterol, glucose disposal, insulin sensitivity. And it definitely helps with fat loss and improving endurance. That's what I noticed right away taking it, is that all of a sudden you need less recovery time between sprints, repetition work. You just felt like you had way more in the gas tank. And then I noticed I was getting bigger and leaner, which is really difficult to do. So that one is my favorite out of all of them, because I feel that it doesn't really have any downsides, at least that I came across. The research was pretty much 100% positive. I mean, there was some evidence that maybe it may increase cancer, but that was with a dose that's way beyond what you would ever take. It's like saying aspirin is dangerous if you take the whole bottle. It's like, don't take the whole bottle, dumb fuck. Then it's not that dangerous. Taking iron is dangerous too if you take the whole bottle. Just take one tablet. All right. So which ones have you played? First of all, how did you even discover these, Anthony? And then let's get into some of the ones you've played around with and what your results have been.
So this is like super weird, but I actually I happened to know a dude back in 2007 who he was your sort of your typical steroid source. He was on Outlaw Muscle and all those.
You met him in a back alley.
I met a guy who knew a guy.
I actually met him in person. To be honest, I did not for that, but I just I happened to have met him a few times. Good dude, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll send you a bottle." It's and I knew what they were from the research, but like I had never. He was like, "I have 2 bottles. I used one. I'll give you one." And it was kind of like it was pretty wonky, like just like a medicine dropper type bottle.
Were you worried about what it actually is? Because it could have been anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been anything, but it's kind of one of those. Like, I knew the dude for a while.
Okay.
I knew that if I was I knew that he wasn't going to lie to me. I know, his source in China might have, been lying, but I tried it and I was like, all right. It was Ostarine, and it was like, I was like, all right, this is similar to like a low dose of testosterone. Like that's the best way I could describe it.
Right.
And then so that was 2007.
So you got bigger and stronger with what kind of results did you get with it, Anthony?
I didn't get much bigger, but like I could sort of feel, gained a little bit of muscle, lost a little bit of fat. And I'm only talking like a couple pounds here, like not.
Right. Well, that was my experience as well in about 5 weeks. I that one intrigued me because of the joint health properties as well as the bone health properties, because I'm dealing with this arthritis in my left arm where the bone is almost on bone right there. So that's what intrigued me. And I did find some relief taking it on that front. And I did notice about maybe a 5-pound increase in size and a small reduction in body fat because abs were sticking out more, body was more filled out, and then a boost in strength. It wasn't a boost in strength where you're like, oh, wow, I just put 50 pounds on my deadlift, but it was a boost in strength where you had a few more reps and a few more pounds on heavy sets.
Yeah, that's so, like, for me, like, the first time I used steroids, like, say like the first week, you don't feel anything, and like the second week, there's these couple reps that are added onto everything.
Right.
And you're like, all right. And then the sort of the third week is like, yeah, I think this is working. That's kind of where you stay as far as I see with the SARMS. Like, you're like, this is working.
Right.
You're adding reps every week. Everything seems to work is a good way to put it. Like, your programming just works.
Right, exactly.
You're hitting all your marks, so that's
like workout consistency is there. You're not having those bad workouts as often. You have this, you feel like you're in the pocket. Yeah. You feel like you're in the pocket. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Everything just keeps working. Like, you keep adding those reps. You keep, you're moving up as you should. And it's not crazy. It's not like, I put 25 pounds in my bench in a week. It's not,
right.
It's not like a high dose. And I don't know that there's any dose that gets you to the high dose.
I doubt it, and I don't think that's necessarily appealing anyway. I mean, it is to someone who is, let's say, new to the game and impatient, but I rather have these small, consistent gains because you're going to hold on to those. Where you have these big spikes that don't make sense, you tend to have a opposite effect where you lose it quickly too.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I mean, I haven't seen, there's been some minor differences in terms of, okay, so I used, Ostarine versus androgen or whatever, and okay, one seems to be a little bit more of a more weight gain and less fat loss kind of a thing, but it's still minor.
Right.
The Carterin or whatever, I haven't used that, and like you said, there's some weird stuff with the cancer and, like, I don't know, rats got like tumors or whatever.
But in the research there, though, was that it was at an extremely high dose. That is far from the daily recommendation. But it's just something people should be aware of. When you're playing around with these things, you're basically in somewhat uncharted territory, which is what I want to emphasize with folks. Yeah, there's data out there. There's some research. But there's not a ton of human data, especially over the long term. So you have to really take that into account.
And the unfortunate thing is that it's not like testosterone where researchers will research testosterone just to research it. Like,
right.
Hey, we're trying to find out this property, hey, what happens when you get this much or that much, or,
yeah,
maybe we could discover something. In terms of SARMS, that's not why people research it.
Right.
People research SARMS. It's because the company that patented this particular SARM is paying them to research it.
Right, right.
So, while I'm not saying that's, the worst thing in the world, it does impact, the data.
Right, right.
But and like you're saying, it turns out a SARM, but it kind of gets lumped in. I don't know why. Cardin and the MK667, I guess.
Yeah, the Nutribol, the growth hormone secretagogue. Yeah.
Yeah, that gets lumped in too. I have no idea why.
Yeah, they're not SARMs, but they tend to be sold by the same websites that sell SARMs, and they tend to be discussed within discussions of SARMs.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like I don't know why, but they are. They're just sort of in that same.
Well, the thing with Nutribol, I didn't do any tests to see if Nutribol increased IGF-1, but I will tell you one thing: it definitely increases ghrelin, because my appetite was through the roof for the first week that I was taking that. I had to wake up in the middle of the night one time to make a meal because I was so hungry, and that never happens to me. And then it tapers off after that. So it's not something that's prolonged the entire time you're using it. But the increase in ghrelin for the first couple of days, in my experience, was definitely pronounced.
And what you said you were at 20, right?
Yeah, 20 milligrams.
Yeah, so I was at 20, and the appetite thing was there. And what I noticed too in the research was that people did get the appetite increase, and then it did taper off. Like that's
right. Right.
Exactly in line with the research.
I mean, it's kind of fun the first week because you're really. I'm not a big eater as it is, right? I'm not like a big foodie guy where I'm just like that's a big highlight of my day where I just want to eat all the time. So this was like an unusual experience for me to be hungry like that. I was like, man, I kind of feel bad for people who are overweight if this is how they feel every day, because it's hard to resist eating when you have that ghrelin response.
Yeah, no, it is, and you kind of like. It's weird because you eat and you're like your stomach is full, but you're like, man, I'm still hungry.
Yeah, it's a weird sensation. Yeah, that's for sure.
The worst is what you said. Like you're asleep and the hunger's so bad that it's uncomfortable. You wake up.
Yeah, I had to wake up. It's like 3 a.m. I had to wake. I was like, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I was in there sleeping. I was like, nah. Just go back to sleep, man. You'll be fine. Just wake up in the morning. But you couldn't stop thinking about eating.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I was using that at 20, and Ostarine at 30.
Right.
And I honestly didn't need that much, so I cut it. I cut it to 20 and 10.
Right.
That seems to be the sweet spot for me. And
that's the other thing is more is definitely not better with these kind of things. Some people are going to think, oh, well, I tried 15. Imagine if I tried 50. It's like, no, it's not going to be better, in my opinion. And then that's where you may get into some negatives, right, such as increase in liver enzymes and such things of that nature.
Well, I mean, to me, like the goal is to get the most out of the least. Whereas, like when I was younger, I was like, how much can I take without dying? I would do because you write a book about steroids, people just throw it at you, right?
Right.
Like, hey, try my new stuff, like Underground Labs, doing like grams just because I had it, like just hey, let me fire up 3 cc's a day and. Hey, I didn't die. Awesome. I don't think that's the best way to go about things. But no, then like now it's what's the best result I can get from the least amount of stuff, And that's for me. For me, it's 10 of the MK, 20 of the Ostarine. I actually have some LGD. I want to say it's like 2086 is the number.
Right. That's the one you sent me an email about. How does that one differentiate from Ostarine?
Not much at all, to be honest. Like, I'll go back and forth between them.
Right.
I feel like Ostarine, I actually feel like Ostarine puts a bit more weight on me, whereas my friends say the opposite. So I don't think there's like a huge, there's a couple things. The first is I don't notice a huge difference, but they're so new to like the underground or whatever that we haven't had that time where people, use them and go, well, I used Tren is better for cutting, right? Tren's been around since the 60s.
Right.
So we don't have that sort of body of, user experience to get us there.
Yeah. Is there a length of time?
And I think we'll find that stuff out. I think we will eventually.
Oh, yeah, sure. Is there a length of time you think is optimal for something such as Ostarine, such as 8 weeks on, 4 weeks off, 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off? What do you think?
To be honest, I've never gone past, I want to say, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, now I have actually. I probably told you this, but I had both hips replaced.
Right.
So now, the Ostarine, obviously, like Osta, as in osteoporosis, right? Right. It's for bones.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of trying to regrow bone, around these gigantic metal implants in my hips. So, so I've been doing them since maybe like 3 months ago. I probably started, something like that. And it's still about the same. The weight gain, has stopped, but it's about the same. It's that kind of like every workout is effective, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's the other thing I also think is that if you gain a few pounds, you're not going to just keep on gaining pounds as it goes on. I think the weight increase comes within, let's say, the first 4 weeks, and then the second 4 weeks is just more of a pronounced increase in strength, has been my experience, rather than you just keep gaining weight.
Yeah, no, and I think that's with anything, right? Like, you don't see guys, and that's why we don't see dudes at 500 pounds,
Right.
There's definitely a show-off valve, at some point.
That's true. You can keep getting stronger, but you're not necessarily going to just keep getting bigger indefinitely. Strength is so many other factors too, right? Strength is neurological efficiency, it's central nervous system facilitation. It's not just correlated with bigger muscles indefinitely.
Well, I do think there's you talk about it all the time with, you don't want to just drop your estrogen to zero, right?
Right.
And younger dudes, or at least me, right? When I was younger, I was like extremes, right? I'm going to boost my test to 1 million. My estrogen is going to be 0. When you're 19, you're like, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
It's not a great idea.
A lot of people still think that now. They think they think that's the goal, that estrogen should be non-existent in the body and testosterone is high.
They naturally think, if I have estrogen, I'm going to be a woman. I don't want to be a woman. I just want all testosterone. It's like, come on, man.
No, that's the thing, right? So, if you look at something like inhibiting, right, myostatin, all right, you inhibit myostatin, you don't automatically become like a Belgian blue bull or whatever those are, right?
Right.
Other things go down, your IGF goes down also. So there seems to be a natural shut-off.
Yeah, there's a natural check and balance. Yeah, exactly. Seems like that's there for a reason, because you don't necessarily want to have muscular growth that just goes off indefinitely on its own.
No, and I think that happens. There's that sort of checks and balances throughout. Whatever system you're trying to game, whether it's testosterone, you're well, I'm going to drop my estrogen a bit and that'll boost my testosterone. I don't think that goes on forever. Just the same way you don't gain a pound a week. Well, eventually you're going to feel like crap eventually, to the point where you realize you have to do something.
Your estrogen drops to a point. You're going to have no sex function, no sex drive. Your mood's going to be off. the exact opposite of what you want.
Oh, it's horrific. I've done that. I've dropped my estrogen to zero.
You're better off having estrogen
terrible.
a little bit higher than optimal than way lower than optimal.
Oh, for sure. For sure. No, I used letrozole till my estrogen was like zero.
And that's the problem with
you know,
aromatase inhibitors, is that they can drive it down to zero, things like Arimidex and so forth. And then estrogen is also important for brain health. So you'll start having just this kind of feeling of depression and anxiety if estrogen is too low.
Yeah, no, like that's so. And it's just like, so I kind of think SARMs are sort of similar to SERMs, right? Selective estrogen receptor modulators. Like you can't go that far with Novadex. You could take 1 million grams and it's not going to work, considerably better than 10 or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like with training, right? I mean, sometimes there's an optimal dose in training where let's say you do 5 sets of 3 on the deadlift with 90%, and that gets you an increase in strength. And then you decide, well, let's try 15 sets of 3 and see what happens. And then you have a decrease in strength. So you're working harder to get less in return. There's always a balance between the two. And I think that's where a lot of people get impatient, and they also get greedy with stuff.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, with like Arimidex, right? Like, I mean, most of the good data indicates that like a gram is too much, right? Because you get about the same results from half a gram. So why would you take the gram?
Right.
You know?
Well, I get that with my testosterone booster.
Milligram.
With my testosterone booster, I get that all the time. I'll even have people who say, "Oh, I tried 3 caps a day. I felt great, so I decided to take it up to 5 caps." I was like, "Look, man, I told you don't take more than this amount, right, for your body weight." But somehow people just have to find out for their own, but they just have to see if they can prove me wrong, and it doesn't work. It's like, believe me, if there were a benefit for you taking more, I would tell you to, because not only is that good for my business, yeah, exactly. It's good. If you get better results and then you end up taking more, so you have to buy more, that's a win-win for everybody, right? So I'm me telling you to not take more than this and then to take 4 weeks off for every 8 weeks on. That's not good for business necessarily, because that's a month where you're not buying it, but it's the ethical thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And I want the customer to get the best results, whether it hits my pocketbook in a negative manner or not. In the long run, it's beneficial. But somehow we just have, especially in America, we have this ingrained in our mind. Yeah. Like if I just tweak this, I'll get even more. And then sometimes people just can't even celebrate something, right? Like they hit a PR and then they're going, "Oh, but it should have been easier, or I should have been able to do more." It's like, why? You hit the PR. Why isn't that enough?
Well, maybe I was a little off, man. Maybe I just went too low with it. I should have had a bigger goal.
Yeah, it should have been easier. It's like, you hit it, man. Who cares whether?
Yeah, you know what though? That is us. That is sort of an American thing.
Like, even in business too, someone will make more money than they've ever made, but then they're thinking, "Oh, but I was targeting this. I made $300,000, but I should have made 400. Well, 300 is more than you've ever made, so why isn't that enough?
Like, dude, you were making 60,000 last year. Like, what are you
exactly. That your income went up like 5 times, man. And then you're demoralized because it didn't go up 6 times.
It's a weird thing. People have like a real problem sort of being happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in whatever moment they've created.
It's like happiness is so elusive for a lot of people because of that, because they're just never happy with anything.
They're never in the moment. They're too busy thinking about the next thing and the next thing. So guess what? You're always going to have that anxiety and that depression. It's just like, well, man, it could have been this way. Well, it could have gone the other way too. Oh yeah. It could.
Now, I remember like when I was waiting like for my first book to come out, like it was already, it was being published and all that. And I was like, whatever time it took, right, to get the run done, I was like, man, forever waiting for this thing. And then I wrote another book, whatever. And it's not so much the thing coming out anymore. It's like the whole process. I'm fine the whole way through. It's great when it comes out, but I'm fine the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like when you're trying to, bench 315 for the first time, like enjoy the process, don't just you know, you hit the number. You don't get anything after you hit the number. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's like
balloons don't fall from the ceiling and like people come out. Like, that's not what happens.
You're not going to get a standing ovation.
Exactly. And all of a sudden the president's knocking on your door like, hey, give you a Medal of Honor or something like that. You know, we talk about that all the time.
Even
it's
if
like,
you did get those things, it's still anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's anticlimactic. We always talk about this. Like, okay, now it's like, oh, well, okay, that was good. Now what?
Yeah, that's it. You leave in the same car you drove to the gym in. Like, you don't, you know.
You have a brand new car waiting for you in the back. Here you go, buddy.
Hey, man, you hit 550. You got that Ferrari out there waiting for you, man. There's an incentive
Yeah,
right there.
none of that happens. Just for you, man. Nobody in the gym even knows.
No,
Just
yeah,
for
exactly.
you know?
And
Exactly.
those that know usually don't give a damn. They're just like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So you stronger than me? Who gives a damn?
No, you and the guy who
you train
started
too
you.
hard.
That's it. And he doesn't know.
And if they do know, they're gonna try to shoot you down. Like, oh, well, man, why you gotta train so hard? Like, why is this so important? Why you gotta get those big numbers?
So yeah. It's like what hole are you? What is this deep black hole in your soul that you have to chase this? It's like I think you're just not happy in life. So
Yeah, you're running from something, brother. You need to take a look at yourself. Yeah, you need to go fuck yourself.
But I think that's the also thing too, is that a lot of people, it's not enough for them to hit a PR. They have to tell everyone about it, whether it's a clip you film and put up online and get a bunch of likes, or you tell everyone you know. The real test is you hit a PR and you just keep it to yourself. And you're like, man, that's awesome. I hit it. You know, so you congratulate yourself, and that's it. Nobody necessarily even knows.
Exactly.
That's the real test.
No, then there's like, you know, I mean, like basically everyone I know trains, right? Like I hardly have any friends who don't, but it's like I don't know what any of them, you know, squat or whatever. Like you don't, like you just kind of don't know. Like,
Right.
I think actually one time, Mike, I saw a video. I want to see you were deadlifting. I want to say it might have been like 455, and I watched it, and I saw you do, like I watched it just to watch it. I don't even remember, but I saw you like stomp your feet to.
Oh, there's an old clip. Yeah.
I'm assuming like nervous system activation.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, that's
what I find
something
though
I
is,
could do. Like,
you know what I find though is I don't do that anymore. You know, because I find that it's just a waste of energy. But like my friend Peter Rouse like tried that, and you know, and it was kind of cool at that time. But now I have more of a quiet energy before I do something. Like for example, last week I hit 555, a PR for me, and I just walked up to the bar. I was very focused, just grabbed the bar, set up properly, pulled the bar. And right above the knees, I hit a small sticking point, screamed it through, you know, locked it out, put it down. So I find that, I mean, some, you know, every lifter is different, right? Like if you watch these high level power lifters, sometimes this one guy has like his wife slaps him in the face.
Yeah,
before
slaps him in the face, and they're like
Scott
reaching
Mendelson.
out.
Yeah,
and they're reaching out. Like, what are you grabbing at, man? Then they take their hands while they're out and they reach.
Some
down
people
and grab
do all this screaming and stuff like that. I don't really find that stuff is that effective for me. But what I do find, and this is one thing Mark Philippi taught me, is he goes that yelling at the right time for the right reason is very effective, right? So if I'm pulling a weight that's easy for me, I don't need to yell out like an idiot. It's like, why are you yelling out? The bar's moving just fine. But when I hit that PR, a lot of times when you're doing a genuine PR, there's a point where you have to make a decision, whether you're going to finish the rep or put it down. And in this case, the bar came off the ground fast, which is always a good sign, because if it doesn't, it's not a good sign at all. And then right above the knees, it started slowing down, and that's where you make that decision. Do I put it back down or do I finish it off? And then that's where that yell, that sound increases your force production just when you need it for a very precise reason. You finish the rep. But it has to be timed right. Otherwise, it's a waste of energy.
Yeah, you don't sit there screaming from the time you put your
you know
hands
what,
on the
man?
bar.
I watch.
Like, dude,
yeah,
what the
some
hell's
people
wrong with
screaming
you?
before the bar's even moving. It's like, relax,
are you okay? Do I need to call someone? Do you have an emergency contact? What the hell's wrong with you, man?
Like for example, Sincere, in the context of kettlebell sport, you know, you may make some noises towards the end of a set, but you're not going to do it at the beginning of a 10-minute set.
Yeah, first of all, it's not even going to be a 10-minute set, you know, by that time, because it's all about trying to, you know, just tense up at the right time and relax. And so if you're doing that the whole time, I've seen those people where they're just tense and they don't make it past like the 2-minute mark, man. 3 minutes later, they drop the kettlebell. They're pissed off. I'm like, well, first of all, calm the hell down. Okay, Tony, what are you doing, man? It's not like you don't lift this 3 times and be done with it or something like that. It's not like come on, man.
Well, you're creating an internal intensity, right, where it's not necessarily visible to people watching, but you have it. And that's what I'm talking about with a PR here is that I'm creating an internal intensity, which is not visible to other people, but I feel it. And then I'm conserving that energy to apply in the effort, because when it's a genuine PR, any wasted effort could be the difference between a rep you complete and one you miss completely.
Exactly. And nothing sucks more than not completing it after you've done all that. And then you're like, what the hell just happened? Well, first of all, Scream Boy.
No,
you scream and you miss, that's not good.
First of all, shut up.
No,
okay.
There's nothing worse than a missed
you
deadlift.
scream, so now everyone in the gym is turning to see why you're screaming, and then they're watching you miss a lift. That's the other benefit of the scream is like, you feel kind of dumb doing it. So you're like, I better complete this fucking thing so I don't feel totally stupid.
Yeah, we've seen that guy in the gym before, like, dude, all that for that? Or they do all this screaming. It's the sub-maximal weight. Like, come on, man. Are you serious right now?
The scream is also
deadlifting 175 and you're like, you're 300 pounds and you're doing all that screaming? Like, come on. You should be screaming at yourself.
No, I'd rather, that's the one lift I don't, like, I'd rather get stapled underneath the squat.
Yeah, there you go.
Than miss a deadlift, like where it just doesn't move.
Yeah.
Like you walk up, it doesn't move, and you just walk away. Like
it's so demoralizing. Like if you sit there and you squat and then you just boom, you have to let it go. It's like, oh well. But something about the deadlift, man, when you can't get it up and you're like, what the hell?
When there's no movement, you just walk up to a bar and it doesn't move.
It doesn't even come off the ground. You're like you just gave it your whole effort and the bar didn't even move.
You feel like you're on Saturday Night Live on that one clip where, Hans and Franz, you feel like your arms are about to rip off and start bleeding.
Or it moves a little bit and you can tell your back is going to break in half if you try to do this.
It moves like 1 inch off the floor and to the left. And you put it down, you're like, okay, first of all, I'm not even where I started. How did I end up over here? Okay, and why am I not standing straight up?
No, earlier this year I tried hitting 545 and I missed it. I mean, it was like it didn't even move off the ground, and I was like, all right.
See,
and the week before I did 525 for a double, so I thought for sure, no problem, I'll hit 545 next week. But for whatever reason, it was just off. And then that's where you have to have the patience and discipline. Take a week or two off, dial it back, reset, get better with your technique. Yeah. So much of improving deadlift is improving your technique actually, and that's what I've made the difference between missing it 6 months ago and hitting it last week is that my technique is a lot better, and also my brain is ready for the lift. Your mind is ready to lift it.
Yeah, so don't sit there and try to
you know
miss
what?
it and go
I
tomorrow.
actually
I'll do it tomorrow. No, you won't.
Someone asked me the other day, like speaking of technique, they asked me the other day, like when I do like kettlebells, like double kettlebell, I go outside the legs.
Yeah.
And they asked me why. I was like, the bells get heavier. I don't know. You get these two huge, like the bells, two ginormous bells.
In the stands,
it gets
becomes
weird.
really uncomfortable. Yeah.
Well, because that's what you said during the kettlebell seminar I took with you, right?
You especially for me, right? Like when I deadlift, I don't do sumo deadlift. I do a pretty close stance. And then my grip width is pretty close too, so everything is close to the body. That's just what works for me very well. Sumo's never been comfortable for me. So my attitude is when you do double kettlebell swings and you're taking that wide stance, it's pretty much the equivalent of doing a sumo deadlift, where it's just not comfortable for me. It's hard for me to generate power from that position.
So then, right, I watched. It's like an 18-minute video, right? I was waiting for you to explain in depth why you go on the side. You were doing double kettlebell on the side at some CrossFit place. Like the background says CrossFit.
That's a clip from one of my workshops. Yeah, that's why it's so long.
And so I watched the whole thing, waiting for this explanation. So I could then go in
wait for it. Wait
and be
for
like,
it.
"Oh,
just fucking do it."
Here's the technical reason why, and I just watched the whole video. I was like, okay. All right, I'm gonna stick with yesterday's explanation that the bells get too big.
I'm a little bit better at getting to the point now. I don't like to hear my own voice now. I just like right from the get-go. I'm like, here's why you do it, rather than be talking about the history of the kettlebell swing for 10 minutes and then finally get to it. No, but it's one of those things. It's one of those things
bells.
where purists who don't think for themselves, right? We have a lot of that in the kettlebell world, where it's like someone taught them to do it one way, and they don't even think about trying to do it another way. They don't play around with anything. So then they see me do it. There's a clip of me doing double 70s for 50 reps. And remember, I posted it, and some guys like, your technique is wrong. You need to check out strong first. They're doing it right. Clearly, this guy had no idea who I am and what my background is. I was like, look, motherfucker, you can't swing 270-pound kettlebells 50 times incorrectly. Right? You're not going to last long enough, dumb fuck, to fucking swing it incorrectly.
Well, you know what? I actually, but when I lived in New Zealand, I remember I was, playing guitar with this dude, Maori dude, and I was like, "What's this chord?" I don't know. It sounds like a G. And he goes, "It sounds like a G," and he was like, "Yeah, then it's a G." That's the definition of what a G is. It sounds like a G.
Yeah.
Like, so by definition, if you can do that weight for those reps, you're doing it right.
Right.
Like,
this was the bells are going to chest level on each rep, right? It wasn't like some dry hump move where the bells aren't even, going past their waist. That's the other thing you see is like people doing these heavy swings, like two hands on a bell that's heavy for them, and the bell's not even going above their waist. I'm like, well, that's not a kettlebell swing. That's like some kind of ballistic deadlift or something. I don't know what it is.
It's kind of like those half-ass presses we've seen online lately.
Yeah, exactly.
By these experts, and it's like they're not even locking out. They're not even going past their earlobe.
You're pressing and the bell is 5 inches in front of your face.
It's not even going past their ear. I'm like, dude, that's not a press, okay? It's like you're
if you're not fixated in the lockout, if the lockout is not fixated, it's not a press.
Yeah, those are glorified earmuffs right now, buddy. Okay.
You should be able to pause for a second with the bells overhead.
No.
That's always an indicator of whether it was a complete rep or not.
No, I just have to move it, Mike. If I can move it up and down, that's all that matters. Okay. Oh my God.
I mean, look at Ken Blackburn doing
I actually do. I go back and watch videos all the time, to try and figure out, something or learn, whatever. And at no point does it occur to me like you said, someone's doing that weight for those reps. Like, let me find another video. He must be doing that wrong. No.
Well, sometimes you see powerlifters deadlifting 800 pounds, and then people in the comment section, he's using his back too much.
His back rounded.
I think you missed the part where it was 800 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's just see you do it with a nice straight back.
I don't care if his back was rounded. I don't care what it was.
Pounds. Okay.
Exactly. If he stood up with it and it locked out, that's impressive.
I don't care how he got it up there.
800 pounds, any way, shape, or form. Like impressive. That is more impressive than 400 pounds with
great form.
Yeah.
Your form is
it's
supposed
funny
to be
though how
great at
many
400.
people won't go look at a video, they know someone who's an expert in something, and they won't watch their friend's video because there's that proximity bias, where they're like, that's this guy, I know him, whatever, I'm gonna find someone else. No, I watch all the time, try and figure out what how I can improve or what I could do better,
Right.
I mean, all the time. I actually saw another video, and this confused the shit out of me, where it was you, I want to say it was you and 3 other dudes in your backyard, and you were going between the legs, and I was like, shit, why is he doing that? So there's another,
he's talking about kettlebells, by the way, okay?
Well,
I'm talking about me and 3 other guys going between legs. It's like, what kind of video is this?
Which would make you say, why is he doing that?
Yeah, that
why
would.
am I watching this?
I was like, he'll probably explain it. And so another 15 minutes.
Well, I think I was doing cleans. That's the thing, Anthony. Is some exercises I prefer swinging between the feet, such as cleans and double snatches, while some outside the feet, such as double swings. What I find is that for repetition work outside the feet is way more comfortable because you get into a nice groove. For much heavier kettlebell work, having a wider stance gives you a little bit more of a power base to support those weights and catch it. If you have to catch 2 heavy bells overhead, having a wider stance will just help you catch those weights more effectively. So it just depends. In kettlebell pressing, double kettlebell pressing, I don't have a wide stance, but I don't have a close stance either. It's more of a shoulder width stance.
Yeah.
So it's just individual body mechanics.
I actually find outside works best for me for everything.
Yeah, and some people will find that.
Because one of my girls, she's very muscular, and she tends to have the the fact that just the way she has big quads, and hips as well. And just going between the legs with the kettlebells just really never made her feel comfortable. She always end up like rocking on the outside of her feet when she go between, which is not a good thing to do, so it's really bad on the ankles after a while, especially if you're doing a time set. So once, I introduced her to doing it on the outside, man, she was loving it, even on the cleans and doing long cycle that way. She was very happy with that. Like she really found her groove and was able to actually do a weight that was more optimal for her. She actually was go a little heavier that way. Not worried about banging her knees or anything else, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Think she was probably bang her knees more going to the inside. But again, you got to look at
now is videos everywhere. Like you can learn that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what really sucks when we talk about some of these douche noggins that out there that sit there and they see one technique, that's the only way. Some of these jackasses end up calling themselves coaches, and they treat everyone that comes to them, all their clients, with that same one way or no way type attitude instead of really assessing the client and looking at them like, you know what, this might be better for your anatomy. Let's try it this way.
They're just teaching them what they're doing for themselves.
Exactly.
Right? Here's what works for me, and then they're assuming everyone else is going to be the same.
9 times out of 10, Mike, it's not even working for them. Let's just go ahead and be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Figure out what actually works for you first, motherfucker.
Let's just go ahead and be honest about it. This sucks for them too, but they won't admit it because, hey, Guru so-and-so, the kettlebell god, told me this was the way to do it, and I'm like him. Yeah, he's part mutant, okay? He can do things that you cannot do. He's gifted from birth. This is not what you've been doing all your life. Okay.
Well, like one of the things, and then, anywhere that I go and whatever, from coaching and someone's doing, and this is something that I had done, and then when I went to Mike's kettlebell class, he reinforced it. Like, there's this weird thing at the bottom of like a Turkish getup where like someone they kick their leg out.
Oh, that hip bridge thing that everybody's
some people do the hip bridge.
Yeah, that never made any sense to me.
Well, I mean, they basically say, it engages the core more if your butt comes off the ground and all that. I go, you know what? You want to know what engages the core more? Having a much heavier weight.
I was about to say, much heavier weight.
Having an optimal kettlebell in your hand instead of sitting there with
me using a 53-pound bell and using that hip bridge is not going to hit my core more than using a fucking 120-pound kettlebell.
And there's no way you could do that with that weird kick at the bottom.
No.
That weird.
My attitude is this: is that how you would get up if you fell down?
Exactly. I'm like, are you gonna sit there and present your penis up to the sky every time you fall and present it to the penis gods or whatever?
It's like Steve Cotter always said it best. Steve Cotter goes, use the best technique possible, and if you want to make the exercise harder, use a heavier weight.
Thank you. Quit coming up with all this crap.
Yeah.
Again, I got to quote Sonny Pazoo because we were doing a gunfighting seminar a couple of weeks ago, and he says, the problem because this happens in the firearms industry too. People keep looking for all these new things when all you need is really the foundation. So basically, what ends up happening, like in the fitness world, you have all these people working so hard on trying to change the freaking hardware instead of just trying to upgrade the software.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like I always say, look, man, you can sit there and tell me that Kia is like, oh, look at this brand new Kia, it looks just like a Mercedes or whatever else. But on the inside, that engine is still a Kia engine. I don't give a damn if it does look like a freaking Mercedes, and pretty much is comparable to a BMW or whatever. It's still a Kia, dude. It's the inside I'm looking at. So again, quit trying to change all these outside things when you should just focus on the foundation, man. Focus on the basics. And guess what? There's not much you need to change with that because that's why they call the foundation and the basics. That's the key stuff. All this other stuff is just stuff. And you're just trying to market yourself to be different and dupe people. And
I had a guy give me a nice compliment at the gym. Actually, when I did that PR, he was just watching my warm-up sets, and he goes, just watching your technique, it's you pretty much don't really need to do much else. When you're doing the deadlift, he's like, you do deadlifts and you go sprinting. I was like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do go sprinting. And you want to do more exercises than just that. But he realized right away that, wow, you're working just about every muscle in the body doing that one move.
Yeah,
exactly.
So many people are so many people are trying to learn 100 different moves when they don't even have the foundation lifts down, right? Like a good squat, a good deadlift, a good overhead press, a good pull-up, a good bent over row. You don't even have those foundation lifts down where you don't even need to deviate from any of those exercises. You can just do those ones for the rest of your life.
But I'm a master kettlebell windmiller, Mike. Screw you.
And those are all cool exercises too. I love windmill and Turkish get up and all these other drills, but I don't want to be able to do those but not be able to do the foundation lifts with good technique and all that.
Exactly.
No, yeah, those are the windmill. I don't program the windmill in my own stuff that often.
No, it's a great exercise. I mean, I like it, but my attitude is focus on simplicity first, get good at that, and then you can add variety as much as you want.
You need to earn that variety, man. You just can't go right off the bat and get variety. What have you done to earn that? And change it up a little bit. You can't change something up a little bit when you haven't done the other stuff. So you got to earn it, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a baby learning how to walk, and he hasn't learned to walk yet, but he's going to try to learn how to run.
No, I'm going to sprint. I'm going to sprint now. Like, you need to crawl.
I'm going to go from crawling to sprinting and just skip that whole walking part.
Nah, I'm good. I don't need to walk. I'm good.
Just going to try to run and fall over as much as possible.
I like that. You have to earn the variety.
Yeah, and I'm not saying variety is a bad thing, but most people I know who crave a lot of variety don't tend to be very impressive with their foundation lifts because they don't have enough concentration to get good at a few things.
I'm gonna pass that off. I'm gonna pass that off as my own tomorrow. I like that.
And honestly, with me, I don't even like variety that much in my own workouts. I'm happy to do deadlifts and squats every week, honestly, week after week after week.
What I've started to learn, man, these last few years, that variety seems to take up more time. Just getting to the freaking point, and getting it done. And one thing about getting to the point, it gets faster results. It gets things done. Whereas all that variety is like, okay, and first of all, I have a very creative mind. I can create a bunch of shit, as far as variety, and it takes a lot of energy to something like, I'm a very creative person, like, why this and this and this and this, so I'm like, that's tiring after a while. Like, no, you know what? I just want to go in, deadlift, and then after I'm doing that, I might do some core work, and I'm taking my ass home. Okay, I don't want to sit there and do like 10 stations for 1 minute each for 20 minutes or whatever else. I'm like, come on.
Well, I think that's
every now and then that's fun. You throw that in the mix, but some people, that's their main workout every day. I'm just like, dude, come on.
Well, I think that's where it makes sense for variety is the assistance work.
Yes.
So instead of doing hanging leg raises every week, you could do hanging leg raises one day, dragon flags another day, standing ab wheel rollouts, windmill, Turkish get up, whatever you want to do. I think that's where variety makes sense because those are not the primary moves with the biggest benefit. So you can have a little bit more fun there.
But if you want to do like squats and then lunges and then trap bar deadlift and then barbell deadlifts all in the same workout and then do box jumps, good luck.
Well, it's always funny to me when someone hits squats pretty hard. I'm like, hey, good job on the squats. And then they go do leg presses and hack squats and leg extensions. I was like, no. You don't need to do any of that stuff, man. I hit squats hard this past Saturday. I didn't even want to do anything else, period. I was like, I'm leaving.
You don't even want to sit down. It's just like,
I was like, I'm done.
You start looking like, how am I getting home? Because I can't sit down right now.
I had a whole bunch of other things planned. After I hit all those sets, took everything I had. I was like, I'm done, man. There's nothing else. There's no other reason for me to be here right now. I'm leaving. Squat is the most important exercise for me to do today. I hit it so hard that I barely have enough energy to go do my stretching and mobility work. So I'm out the door.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. You look at the average gym, right? There's like 500 machines. They're all slightly different. They have tons of variety, but no one, I don't want to say no one, but 90% of the people who go to the average gym don't look any different a year later and don't get any stronger.
But you know what? I kind of like
there's one squat rack, but there's like 500 different leg presses and leg extensions.
And it's good because that means that's one less person in my way when I need a deadlift. You just go over there and do that little leg rotation over there, man. Just go over there and do those leg presses. I got this barbell over here. Don't worry about
I encourage all that.
Exactly. like,
oh, no one's using the squat rack? Great.
Man, what do I do for my hamstring? Oh, you didn't do those leg curls? Hey, man, go over there doing leg curls. And plus you get to lie down on your stomach. You get to chill. Don't bother yourself over here with this thing I'm doing right now. Did you hear me scream on that last lift? Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. No one ever screamed on a leg curl. So trust me, anytime a man's lying on his stomach and he's screaming with his butt up in the air, it's not because of the leg curl. Okay?
That's someone doing some Oz role playing. No, nutrition is where people tend to get a little bit distracted with variety too. And what I mean is more planning. So it's, I'm going to do 5 meals a day this week, and then I'll do intermittent fasting next week. And then maybe I'll try Ori Hofmeckler's warrior diet the week after that. Right. It's like, no, get figure out what works for you. And that shouldn't take much longer than a few years of playing around with stuff. And then you keep repeating that. And you may have some variety here and there. Maybe one day you feel like fasting it out. Maybe another day you have your activity is higher, so you eat more than you normally would. But you're following certain basic principles that are easy to repeat frequently.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, too, like when I used to do online consulting, like diet and training and all that, like online coaching stuff, I'd write out, meals. Like I would look at what they're eating, and you could tell a lot from that. Like if someone's eating prepared meals or drinking a ton of shakes, that means they don't have the time. Like that's a time thing. It's a lifestyle thing.
Yeah.
That might not be something you can change, right? But in general, like if someone said, oh, I can cook 2 meals a day maximum, what should I eat? I was always kind of like, dude, you know what you should eat. Like, come on, man. What do you think?
Fruit
like,
Loops
you know
and
what I mean?
Pops.
Like,
Pop-Tarts. What do you think?
all right. So you're gonna have chicken. Should it be fried or should what I mean?
Some people are really clueless, though, because I'll tell you what, I was watching this documentary on Netflix. It was Lisa Ling talking about obesity. It was one of her specials, right? I don't know if you've seen it, Sincere, but anyway, they had these kids in there who were really overweight, and they were just really crying and distraught about being overweight because in their mind, they're eating healthy, they're doing everything right, and the weight's not coming off. So I'm like, okay, I'm really curious to see what they're actually eating. And when it finally got around to that part, one girl is eating a cheeseburger and fries for lunch, and she has pizza for dinner, and she's having cornflakes for breakfast, and she thinks that's eating healthy.
Yeah.
So 100% of the time when someone says they're eating healthy and they're not getting the results they want, guess what? They're lying.
They're not
eating healthy, man.
And even in that case right there, those kids are thinking because it depends probably on economics, their environment.
Sure.
So in their mind, their parents think like, look, if you've had cornflakes for breakfast and you had a cheeseburger for lunch and you had a pizza for dinner, you had 3 meals where, in a lot of those, due to economics, some kids are not getting 3 meals a day. So those parents think like, you're healthy because you get to eat 3 times a day.
Right,
that's how they're looking at it. So it comes down to that. But then there's some people, adults, who are walking around and just because they go to a drive-through 3 times a day and then they sit there and they get a Big Mac but with a Diet Coke. They're like, I eat pretty healthy. Or they get a child's burger. They get the small burger and a Diet Coke. They think they're eating healthy because they didn't get a Big Mac with a supersized regular Coke. So that's what I'm doing better than what? Okay, that's the question. Better than what? You're still going there. It's the same crap. It's just a smaller size. Still same amount of crap inside of it. Same chemical content. So that's the thing about it. So again, they don't know exactly what healthy is because now healthy's not that cool. But then when they finally start talking about healthy being cool, it's just all these gimmicks. So if they put all natural in front of some crap, like our all natural burgers. Still a burger.
Well,
it's still factory farm burger. Okay, so so now
this might actually be like a little like inside baseball, but like the FDA has recently, and I mean within the last month, put out a notice, right? So like the government will put out a notice, and they're requesting input, and right, and this should be filed under the category of they want input on what natural means. They can't even define it. Like, we have no idea what natural is.
That's like the Attorney General. Somebody, could you please help us define what this law is? Could you define? Can you define what civil rights is for us, please? Like, wait a minute, you're the Attorney General. You're the biggest lawyer in the land. Wouldn't you know? Like, come on, man.
Like natural. Like you could give me a list of 100 things, and I'll be able to categorize them as natural or not.
It's very subjective because it's just like, look, S&M might be natural in parts of Thailand, with certain things. Whereas to me, I'm like, that's not natural, dude. You're not supposed to put that there. Okay, so it's very subjective. And again, why would the top experts, quote unquote experts, be asking me, or asking their colleagues who are like not in that position of authority, well, could you explain this to us? Like, first of all, you need to leave that job.
Well, there's a lot of scams too, right? Like in this documentary, they discuss how pizza is considered a vegetable.
Yeah, I know.
It has tomato sauce on it, right?
Yeah,
And French fries are considered a vegetable as well. Potato, exactly.
Unless
so they
it's
say,
McDonald's, which is not even using real potatoes.
So if it's a school lunch, they'll basically say,
Yes.
hey, if you had French fries for breakfast or for lunch and a pizza, you had 2 servings of vegetables.
Or they tell you a pizza is a complete meal. It's like, look, you've got your dairy, you've got your meat, you've got your vegetable, you've got your carbohydrates, you've got a complete meal. I'm like, you've got some bullshit is what you've got right there. That's a bullshit story you're selling right there, dude. Come on.
Well, what amazes me, honestly, is how resilient the human body is. The fact that the majority of people in this country are eating horrible diets, yet they're still alive.
Well, we're so chemically induced. Functioning. It's so between the chemicals that we ingest with food and compared to the chemicals also that we inhale in the air, is like the human body is pretty badass.
Then we have cell phones near us all the time. I mean, there's so many things.
And there are dudes that are carrying cell phones in their pockets, but they're still reproducing and having kids. It's like, so even sperm is like, resilient. It's like mutated or whatever. So, and yet people living to be in their freaking 80s. So it's just crazy, man.
But I think the higher onset of kids with different conditions, right? Whether it's autism or early onset diabetes. I mean, these are all clear signs of problems in the food supply and elsewhere.
Exactly.
It's just very clear to me. And it's funny how they'll often have arguments of, there's no connection between what you're eating and autism. It's like, well, how could there not be? Because there's a connection between what you're eating and everything.
How else are they getting us? They just, it's like, you just rubbed against somebody with autism, now you caught it. Well, how else are they going to,
how could there not be a connection between what you're eating and whatever problem it is you have, whether it's depression
or the parents as well? It's like, okay, so this child was born with this, so something's going on with them genetically, so that means something's happening with you as you're carrying this child, and it may be something that was happening 2 or 3 generations ago, and now it's finally coming to pass. With conditions that are current.
Even if something's 1 in 1,000, that's quantified.
That's one. That's one. Okay.
If you say like this is 1 in 1,000, the person who has this lifestyle, eats this thing, is exposed to that thing, will have this result in their offspring. That 1 in 1,000, you can't just say, well, it's 1 in 1,000, we're going to get rid of it. Like, that's a legitimate statistic.
Right.
Exactly.
1 in 1,000. That means it caused it. It's always 1 in 1,000. You don't just get to throw out that result.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any example.
Exactly. So I'm like, you got 1 in 1,000 in a population of 300 million. Now is this kind of making a little bit? That number just got bigger. Okay, it's not just 1 anymore. Okay, when you start doing the math.
Yeah, it's not 1 in 7 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
1 in 1,000.
Yeah,
that starts adding up quickly. But I mean, like some dermatologists will say, there's no connection between what you eat and acne. It's like, give me a fucking break, man. How could there not be? It's like, you eat a really crappy diet. If I eat a really crappy diet, I start noticing it in my skin right away.
Exactly.
Skin is the largest detox organ, right?
Exactly.
So if I eat a crappy diet for a long period of time, my mood goes down the drain. It would be like someone saying, there's no connection between your depression and what you're eating. It's like, well, how could there not be? It may not be the only reason, but it's definitely a factor.
Exactly.
Well, here's the thing about there's no connection, right? Like, a while ago, I don't know if you know who he is, but Rob Wolf.
Sure.
You've had him on the show.
We've had him on the show, yep.
So he said to me he got acne from whey protein. I thought, that's weird. Like, that might be, a unique thing for you. I was just thinking that. And then a study came out, and it showed there was a pretty... I wouldn't say high incidence. I would say extremely low incidence, but a correlative incidence. Like there was enough of it happening.
Yeah.
And even though it's rare, and that goes back to the idea of like, well, there's no evidence. Yeah, there's no evidence right now because we haven't found the evidence.
Right.
When he said that to me, I didn't doubt him. Like he didn't say
he knows whether it's happening or not, right? He drinks whey, he gets acne, he stops, it goes away.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, one thing about it.
Yeah,
again,
this is very 4 days he gets acne.
Yeah, but you can't say that's going to work for everybody.
Eating, a few days, and so I knew it was happening. He wasn't just going to like tell me acne stories or whatever, like weird whey protein lies. So I was like, it's weird. And I thought, well, what could be going on? Well, what was going on is we didn't have the research yet.
But then the question may be, okay, is maybe then the next question would be,
what's the quality of the whey?
Well, yeah, exactly. Is it the brand he's taking? Is it
how often does he take it?
Is it an extra ingredient that's in it that's causing the problem?
Or what else is he eating, and how's it reacting when he induces? He takes whey. When he introduces whey.
Sure.
There's one thing about it. What really sucks with people is when they try to make something be one thing. Hey, it's just I ate wheat and it made all this happen. Like, well, maybe it's somebody. You ever heard this thing called chemical reactions? Yeah, it's science. Try that. Try that out. Sometimes it's not just that one thing. It's just how it interacts with those other things that's going on.
Yeah, and it may be a tipping point factor too, where like you may have exposure to mold, which is causing your gut to become compromised, and as a result of that, certain foods are now a problem where they wouldn't be if you didn't have that interaction or that connection to the mold, that exposure to the mold.
Exactly. So.
Well, Rob's got, what is it? Does he have celiac? Is it something in that spectrum?
Yeah.
Or like some kind of like a leaky gut kind of thing? Because I know he posts about that all the time.
Yeah. And that's legit. That's legitimate. Some people have legitimate,
that. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, the real problems come when people say this one thing is going to make that happen for everybody. Everybody needs to stop taking in gluten. Gluten's bad for everyone.
Right. Just because it's bad for people with celiac doesn't mean it's bad for everybody. It's just bad.
One of the interesting things was, like he said, my clients took, this brand of whey protein and they got it, and I actually looked it up, and there was a recall because it contained wheat, undeclared wheat. So sometimes we think, it was the whey or whatever, but there was a problem, manufacturing, and there's a recall, and nobody knew.
Right.
And it may be an issue with you having wheat and and this dairy product combining together, food combinations.
Well, yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah, that's exactly right too. And then back to that one that was recalled, the whey, it could have been a low quality product that was high in heavy metals.
Exactly. So
that's supplement companies that don't test for these things. Like all of my supplements go through certificate of analysis on both ends, from the source and then from the bottling and capping company. Both of them run tests to make sure there's no molds, there's no heavy metals, all of that stuff. And I see that data on both ends, so it's a double whammy protective mechanism. Now, I do that. Not every supplement company does that, though.
Exactly. Especially those doing mass production, or they're spending all their money on sponsoring athletes. Yeah, they're not gonna, they don't have the money now to sit there and put in all that research.
Some will they'll go, well, let me look at the cost of testing all this versus potential lawsuits. And if the latter is lower than the former, they'll just let it go through. That's the attitude of not just supplement companies, but companies in general.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. Like, I see all the time, right? Someone will, get caught doing something, and the lawyer for the company's like, to settle this lawsuit and this and that. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, like, there is no way that you didn't do a cost-benefit analysis before this happened and just knew you were going to end up on the winning side even if there was a lawsuit. There's no way. And the lawyer's making his case, well, I thought that it was, nah, you didn't, though. Like, there's no way you're going to convince me of that.
Right. Right.
They do that,
I had an ingredient that was supposed to be in my estrogen blocker, and then it got tested, and it came back with mold and some other problems. And what did I do? I scrapped the entire batch. I ate the cost of it. I didn't say, well, let's just try to slide it in the product anyway and see what happens. That's what you do if you have some integrity, because you don't want to put an unsafe product out there, it's a knowingly unsafe product out there. Right. And you want to do the additional testing. Like, it's not a regulated industry, but that doesn't mean that you can't self-regulate.
Right.
Why do you have to rely on some third party to regulate for you? That should be something that you do because you want to do the right thing by people.
Yeah, I know of a company that actually, I think I want to say it's a manufacturer, actually. It wasn't like an end product company, but they had a batch come out 2% off in total weight, and they had to scrap the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was like protein powder.
Yeah, that's a high level of integrity right there. A lot of companies just say, 2%, who cares?
2%. I mean, that's like half a scoop.
No, it's
right, like of a protein powder. but they no, they scrapped it.
It's not overly significant, I mean, but yeah, exactly. They said that they scrapped it because they wanted to have a high level of ethics, integrity that they want to uphold.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, because you know what? To be honest, I go, like, generally the law goes by, like, a reasonable person standard, like, would a reasonable person, you know, whatever. I go by, like, my own standard. Like, would I care if, like, I got 2% less? Like, I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, that's not a big one either right there. It's like, oh, well. My attitude is it's more about safety for the customer as well as effectiveness. You know, I'm not going to put out a product that doesn't meet label claims, like supposed to have 215 milligrams of bulbine in it, but it comes back as only 150, and I say, let's just push it through. You know, that's not cool either because it has to be an effective dosage. Otherwise, someone's going to take it and they're going to be thinking, okay, I'm taking the right dosage, but I'm not getting the results. It's like, no, you think you are. You're not getting the results because the label claims are not being met.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing, man, because I know actually you might be interested in this. I want to say herbals are like 80%. Like they have to match, not by weight, but they have to match by like concentration at like 80%.
Yeah.
Because there's so much difference in natural product.
Right.
But when I heard this, like I said, I want to say it was off by 2%. And they scrapped the whole batch. I was like, wow, that means like everything. Everything has to be, you know, that's ridiculous. You know, most people won't do that.
No, exactly. Well, cool, man. We've had you on for a while here. Actually, real quick just on the SARMS front, are there some websites that you recommend people check out who want to read up about different options out there?
You know what? There's a website called SARMS Info. That's kind of old information because it was written like 2009 by me.
Yeah. What about, I think there's one called like, evolutionary. Yeah, evolutionary something.
Evolutionary.org, right?
Yeah.
Is that Army site?
I think Mike had to hit mute. Sounds like he had a delivery.
What's that?
No, so I think Mike had to jump off really quick because the dogs were barking. So.
Do you know who's what was going on there?
Yeah, but
that was like a skit in a DMX album.
Where my dogs at? At Mike's house. That's where they are.
Well, evolutionary.org is pretty good. I think that's like Army Leggy's site, right? Leggy?
I don't know because I know Mike Mike sent the site over to me. So, I mean, there's a lot of information on that website, man.
Yeah.
It's plenty.
Evolutionary something.
Yeah, evolutionary.org. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, if you just type in SARMS in Google, all this stuff's going to pop up.
Yeah.
Is that, Mike, that kid Leggy's site?
I think so. I think that's right.
Okay. Yeah, he's a good dude. I like him. It's his birthday the other day.
He's the guy who's always posting these clips on YouTube with his shirt off. You know, that guy.
Is he?
He kind of sounds like Steve Cotter. He's got like that kind of tone.
I don't know,
It's like, hey, guys, how you guys doing today? I'm going to talk to you about SARMS.
I know the site and I know the dude, but I don't know the YouTube stuff. Anyway, whether or not it's his site, he's a good dude, and I find most of that site to be pretty accurate, so that's a good.
Well, what's funny is how when people try to sell SARMs, they always say not for human consumption. Is that because of some legality? Yeah. It's a gray area right now?
Yeah, there's actually a bunch of Lanham Act lawsuits going around.
I see.
I know dude's name's Kevin Smith, and his company makes like no money. Like his company is nutrition.
That's one way to make money, right? You start suing people.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. So they used to be Anabolic Extreme. They changed their name to Athletic Extreme.
Yeah.
And they make no money, and nobody cares about them, and nobody buys their products. So he now is suing a bunch of people, saying that they're competing unfairly by selling SARMs in the supplement industry, which
one company went under as a result of that, right? There was one company that was selling Ostarine that I noticed stopped selling it because they said maybe it's this individual in question made it difficult for them.
Well, you might be talking about
Thanos Labs. I think that's the name of the company.
Huh. I don't know about them. I know that. Well, here's what I know. I know that Athletic Extreme has a lot of pretty questionable products that I don't think are compliant either.
Right.
And I know that he sued some friends of mine. So I took a Saturday afternoon and I wrote up all the products that he was selling that I think were questionable, that were non-compliant. I sent them over to my friends at the company, and within 2 weeks, he had dropped the lawsuit.
It's always great to have someone like Anthony in your corner.
Or it was settled. I'm sorry, it was settled.
Yeah. Anthony's very good at just digging up stuff. It's like, you're trying to do that. Okay, let's go find a little bit of stuff about you. You know?
So it was settled confidentially 2 weeks later.
Uh-huh.
So for whatever that's worth, I think I was probably pretty accurate with what I thought he was doing that would have been unclean hands, as they say.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know about Thanos. I know that he just sued like a bunch of other companies who I'm not really friends with, so I don't know what will happen to them. But So, no, Evolutionary is a good site.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
And what about your blog? You have a pretty good blog you do up. Is that still ongoing?
You know what? I'm actually writing on Medium now.
Oh, okay. So what's the website?
But well, so they can find me on Medium, and thank God I got involved with Twitter back in 2008, so they can get me at Anthony Roberts on Twitter.
Okay, and then they can find everything else you're doing from there. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got that Anthony Roberts. I'm not like Anthony Roberts 01 or anything weird like that.
And that's Anthony
I got
Roberts,
the first
folks,
one,
not
man.
Anthony Robbins.
Yeah, I'm not
Anthony Robbins uses SARMS?
Well,
not
his head is quite large. I don't know. He's got banana hands, so I don't know.
A weird, big teeth, tall guy. That's not me.
Like if Anthony Robbins recommended SARMS, we wouldn't be able to put much weight on it because he recommends network marketing too. So if you recommend network marketing, it's hard to trust anything else you say.
Yeah, right? That's the weirdest thing. Like that, to me, that's like a deal breaker.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Because what critical thinking, intelligent person is going to recommend network marketing as an ethical way to do business? I was watching this clip with Anthony Robbins, and he's like, what I love about network marketing is that you can be an entrepreneur without all the headaches of being an entrepreneur. Yeah, like making money, having a profitable business, those headaches. Yeah.
Did you see like a few months ago?
All the negatives of working for someone else and then all the negatives of an entrepreneur.
Did you see not a few months ago, it was a few years ago, but I love to bring it up. Like, he had the people walk across coals and they all got burned.
Oh, yeah.
I did the whole walking across
my wife
coals.
did it too, and
my feet were hot the whole night, man. They were uncomfortable. It's not like I didn't feel anything. I'm walking across, I'm like, this hurts like a motherfucker. And then the rest of the night, your feet were uncomfortable.
No, he got sued.
Yeah, I know. There's a couple of people that,
It's not a good idea, man.
Put it like this. When you commit to doing it, you can't change your mind halfway through. It's like, you need to keep walking. You can't sit there like, oh shit, I'm walking on coals. Yes, you are. Keep walking.
But it's not a good idea no matter what you think, man, right? You want to do mind over matter, go hit a deadlift.
Yeah, exactly.
Go sprint up a hill that you don't think you can do. You know
what? Or just go to the gym because you don't feel like it. You don't feel like, just go. That's mind over matter. Like, even though you've had a crappy day, you didn't eat well, try to go to the gym anyway.
There's so many things you can do.
Forget that. Those are like, you ever try to just set your alarm clock for an hour earlier? See how difficult that is.
There you go.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard even when you have it set to when you normally wake up.
Exactly.
You're like, man, it feels so good being in bed right now. I don't want to wake up.
Like, who set this for 11
Yeah, that whole, spring ahead thing happens. That first day, you're like,
exactly.
It's horrible.
Oh, man.
It's horrible when that happens. I need to walk across coals. I set my clock back.
That's why you move to Arizona. We have to worry about that at all. Setting any clocks back like that. They're like, nah, we don't.
Yeah,
do that
I
here.
understand that. You guys are just exempt from that. That's the weirdest thing.
So,
Yeah.
Like, how did they get out of it? Like, what made them so special?
When I lived in New Zealand, actually, the time zone went through the country, if you know what I mean. Like the line went through it.
Oh yeah.
Where it would go through it.
But I'm like, this line doesn't even exist.
It goes
It's so
around
stupid.
it.
It's not even a real
exactly.
line. I'm like, we don't have to. You know what? We don't have to abide by this rule. This line doesn't even really exist. What are we doing here?
Well, that's why, like what Luke was saying in the last episode, in Ethiopia, they don't do a 12-month calendar.
No.
They do whatever they want.
Exactly.
It's like, who made it? You don't have to follow these rules that we all made up.
It's like civilization started here.
No,
We do
yeah,
what the hell
yeah.
we
Like
want.
when you look at a map of the U.S., like, and you look at all the states, like those lines aren't there. Like
Yeah,
at
exactly.
all. No, like the
It's just
the
a
state
sign.
line
It's a
goes
sign.
around
Like crossing
each
New
line.
Mexico, state line. Like, really? Where's the line? says who? Who decided like, this is where the line is right here?
Not like there's a wall, like
Exactly.
like a wall of China in between each state.
Exactly. Like you have to climb over. Like, yep. Now you're in New Mexico. Welcome to New Mexico.
Yeah, like the states are all different colors on some maps. Like that's not really how it is. I'm sure of it. Totally not like that.
Like, no, I'm pretty sure that Nevada's still kind of red and brown.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
There's more green in someone's backyard in New Jersey or Virginia than the whole state of Nevada.
Yeah. Well, it's Garden State, man.
So, Anthony, you have a book you're working on? Is there any timeline on when that's going to come out?
Yeah. So, I don't know, like a week ago when you were like, you want to be on the show and talk about SARMS, I was like, hey, I should really update Beyond Steroids and talk about SARMS. And so that's basically where I'm at with the book is, I have the idea that I'm going to add a bunch of chapters and I don't know, I'm going to throw it out there as soon as I'm done. I actually honestly hadn't thought about it. Because I don't talk about SARMS at all in that book, and it would seem to lend itself to that idea, And I actually, funny enough, I do talk about MK667, strangely. But I hadn't really thought about the book, and I thought this might be a good chance to update it, and looked into it, and there's, a ton of SARMs out there at this point. It's not just like the big three like there were. So, let's see, early 2016, I'll have it out.
Perfect.
Well, cool, man. Sounds good. Great having you on as always, and we'll stay in touch, man.
All right, sounds good.
All right, you take care.
Easy, man.
You too.
Yeah, that's our friend Anthony Roberts. Just hit him up on Twitter. That seems to be the best way to connect to everything else he's doing. And then make sure you hit us up by going to our respective websites. Go to mikemahler.com. Use that coupon code LLA. Get 10% off some great ethical, clean products that Meat Label claims actually work. So you don't have to worry about me blowing money on celebrity endorsements. I blow money on creating great products that actually work for you. How about that?
I'm a celebrity, damn it, and I use your product.
Yeah, I got Sam Sheridan on there. That's about the biggest celebrity I have on there. Let's see, who else? Mike Catherwood. And those are just thrown in the mix. It's not like I emphasize those anywhere on the page. And those are people who buy the product, by the way. They're not people who I just send it to for free all the time. And then, so anyway, use that coupon code. And how about with you, man?
Yeah, same thing. Go to newwarriortrainer.com. Info products over there, DVD, ebooks, all that good stuff over there. Weight Management 101 program, get you ready for right now, not the new year. Start now. Get on that 12-week program, online, self-paced, do it yourself. And also, while you're doing that, sipping some good coffee, go ahead and use that Chilleria door to go ahead and do that as well. You can still use that coupon code LLA to get 10% off of all of those products right there. And also continue to support our show by heading over to patreon.com/LLA podcast and become a monthly supporter. Go in that little box where you see that 1, put a 0 behind it, or just get rid of it and put 5. Okay. Or put bigger numbers. Triple digits tend to really make us smile. So go for that. Be that guy. Okay. So yeah, that's another way you support the show.
We could put $10,000 on there, and we'll donate $9,000 to some great causes, and then have fun with the other.
Exactly. And last but not least, you can head over to iTunes or Stitcher or whatever you listen to the show on. Leave a review, share the episode, let the world know. Whatever on social media, wherever you go, tell them about the show. Let the rest of the world know that, hey man, I like this podcast, I love this podcast, and you should too. If you're not, what's wrong with your life, man?
Yeah, we should have 500 reviews on iTunes. We're at 195. Come on. Yeah, we should have 500 reviews on there. We have way more than 500 listeners, I'll tell you that much. So I mean,
we see the numbers.
If we have thousands of listeners, why do we have less than 200 reviews? We obviously have thousands of people listening every month. That means you like the show. So go tell someone you like the show. Don't hoard it. Don't keep it to yourself. Exactly. This is not like some guilty pleasure that you don't want anyone to know about.
It's not like that, that S&M porn that you see, that you like keep to yourself and hope no one ever finds out.
It's not like that. It's not like that Katy Perry record a lot of you guys play at the gym. You pretend like you're black. You have a Slayer T-shirt on, and
but you're listening to last Friday night. You know it word for word, and you're singing along with it during the Super Bowl halftime show. Or you're humming it.
I hate that stuff. You know every song, every word, every song. Yeah, for someone who hates, my kids listen to it.
Right. But you know the whole Miley Cyrus anthology, right? All right, folks. That's going to wrap it up this week. We'll catch you on the next show, folks. Take care.
Take care, everyone. Bye.